Hello. Welcome back. We got another art critique. All right, now this one is actually pretty delayed. All right, got this submission sent in a while back, but I haven't had time to actually get around to it to critique it, unfortunately. But I'm here now, and I'll be leaving the name of the person who submitted this for my Patreon. Thank you so much for your submission. All right. And let's just hop right into the critique, man. Ain't anybody got time for all this talking and bull. All right. Cool. All right. So we have a drawing right here. I could tell it's a digital drawing. It looks really nice. It's a girl chilling. She got some pants and her afro, out, but there's a few things that I can point out that you can work on here. All right. So obviously, the first thing that I noticed was that she has no face. Okay. Now, that's okay. If you're not comfortable drawing faces, you got to work on that. All right. You got to get comfortable drawing faces. Your artwork will look a whole lot better if you would add the face to your characters and add, those details that pretty much make an art piece pop out. Okay. So how I do my critiques is the first thing I do is I lighten the drawing and I pretty much make a construction sketch. Now, construction, I'm always stressing that construction is the best way to learn. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you have a good construction, you have a good drawing. Okay? Simple, just like that. If you have a good construction, you have a good drawing. So let's break it down real quick. All right, we have the rib cage right here. Okay, now she has a tilted line, like her gesture line is kind of curving. So to keep that in mind, she has a tilted rib cage, which is like an egg shape. I usually draw an egg shape or a boxy shape. Any shape will work. Well, not any shape, but like rounded egg shapes, oval shapes, or boxy shapes are probably the best shapes you want to use when you're doing construction lines for the anatomy. Okay. I have the opening of the chest right here, and we have the turn of the body. Okay. And the first thing I notice is her hips are coming around right here. Okay, but there should be a little bit more pull, a little bit more squash and stretch on this side. Okay, as you can see in your drawing, let me erase this real quick. As you can see, you kind of just go too sharply in, like right here. Like the line just goes too in and then out right there, and then like that. Okay, but since she's turning her torso, the lines are gonna actually have a much more smoother transition. All right. So it's gonna be more of a stretch on this side, more of a compress on that side. Okay. So just stretch this out a little bit more like that. The shoulders are tilted, collarbones over here. I do the shoulders just like this, and all that. I can tell the pelvis will be right here. The belly button would probably follow the line of the gesture you're doing. Okay, and I actually really like her pose. Just this point that I actually really do like the pose you chose. The pose was cool. It's a really relaxed, like she's just chilling, maybe like walking down the street or just leaning on something. No, I'm not sure completely, but I can tell you have a good understanding about how the human anatomy works. Okay, arm coming behind this, that's perfect. This arm can probably actually let's see. This arm can come down like this. I usually do like one flowing line when I'm breaking up the construction because it does help having that flow. It makes your drawings less stiff. All right. And stiff is one of the banes of the art community. Like making something stiff. Like you can have an amazing drawing. I've seen so many artists who have amazing artwork and amazing drawings, but the poses they do or just the overall flow of the art is just not there because they end up with stiff drawings. Okay. but your drawing is actually not that stiff. Not that stiff. Maybe in the leg area right down here. We'll get to that in a second. But it's all about using the flowing lines, okay? The thigh comes right here. This thigh would be out here, just like this, coming down. And also remember that the legs have this shape to them, okay? So just keep that in mind. I always recommend, I'm not sure the process you use, but I always recommend whenever you're drawing something, just draw out the entire body of the anatomy, meaning draw them naked so that you can draw the clothes on top. All right, never just draw the clothes straight. That's more for advanced people who can just hop into the art and into the clothing without worrying about the anatomy. But I always recommend, if you're starting out, that you hop into that you don't just hop into the anatomy, that you actually draw out that you don't hop into the clothing, you just draw out the anatomy fully first, okay? And using these 3D lines or 3D construction lines, this is how you can pretty much get a good understanding about the anatomy of the pose, okay? Now the head is tilted. The head would be around here, okay? All right, and I think she's looking up. Oh no, she's looking down. I can tell she's looking. Let me see. Yeah, she's like looking slightly down. I can kind of tell, even though there's barely any head there. I can kind of tell. Like, it looks like she's looking a little bit slightly downward, you know, toward the body, and that's pretty much the entire, pose. Okay, all right. Breasts are sitting around here. All right, now this breast is a little bit uneven. Like this one's coming like this. All right, and then this one's round. So just keep them consistent. As you can see, this one's round like that, and this one's just kind of so just make sure that they both are similar in the fashion. Okay. Let's go back here. Get our pen, and pretty much whenever you're drawing breast, I recommend you draw a line coming from the neck, and just draw a tape and just draw them like that. They have like this natural opening. They spread apart, and that's what you want to do whenever you're thinking about it. Or you can just do this method where you would draw a spiral, stop, and then boom, you can just outline that, and that's pretty much how it would work. Okay. Now we're going to finish this off right here. I'm gonna get the crease of the arm, just like that. Okay. And in a different color, I'm gonna do her hair. Now, if you place the head correctly, let's just say maybe you want her to have a huge afro that's like covering her head, that's covering her face. Okay, maybe that's what you're going for. All right, and that's cool. So we can just do something like this, something crazy. Always get the overall construction down. All right, I beg you. It's gonna be the best thing ever. All right, it really does add a lot. Okay, since she has a lot of hair. Let's see all this. All right, get this pen right here. Boom, boom, bam. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so this is pretty much going to be our construction. Okay, our construction of the pose, and we'll do a quick little hand. We'll do the hand later. The hand can use some work. We'll get to that in a second. And since the drawing stops right here, you don't really gotta worry about that because it cuts off right around here. But let's see how the question looks. So this is the construction, okay, that I see when I'm drawing over your art. So pretty much keep everything at a consistent pattern. All right. You can always add the details of the arm later on, and of course all this other stuff that comes with it. Now that we have our construction, okay, of the character, we can start getting into some actual tips that can help you improve your art. So I'm going to get this back right here. I'm going to duplicate mine And I'm going to scoot it over here so we have a little reference. Okay. All right. And I'm going to line my drawing. So here are a few things that I noticed with your rendering. Okay. So this is the construction. These are the fixes that you can use to change it up. You can always use that for references. And you have the video available on the Patreon. So for the rendering of the skin, okay, I did notice that a lot of the rendering you're doing it's all right, but there's always room for improvement. So whenever you're thinking about rendering anything, okay, you want to firstly remember that when you're blending colors or when you're blending anything, okay, that you always want to have your blended soft colors like this that you have right here, and then your hard shadows. And we'll get into that in a second. But first, I'm going to try and liquefy your artwork to where it could be corrected. And let's see how that would look, okay? So I'll be right back. All right, so I liquefied it and got it to the best I could, the proportions that, the best way I could. So we're gonna talk about your rendering of the skin and just some tips here and that you want to keep in mind. All right. So, with your rendering, okay, one of the best tips I can give you is, I'm not sure if you did this already, but start off with the flats and then work your way up. And I'm pretty sure that's probably what you did. But also, if you're gonna do a more realistic style, like not really more realistic, but a style that has a more rendered look, you want to make sure that your line art isn't showing so broadly. And there's also line art that sticks out like right here and, right around there, So a few tips I can give you is picking your light direction, okay? So I'm going to assume from the lighting that you have so far that the light is going to be right in front of her. So the shadows are going to be all on the sides, okay? But here's a few tips, okay? So let's get her skin tone right here. Let's get her skin tone. And pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to just color all the lights in. Okay. Most of the lights. Okay. And also, little tip, the belly button was a little bit too high. And probably be like around there. Okay, it's kind of like in the middle, kind of right there. So make sure it's like around there, okay? That's a little side note. But when you're doing your lighting or your rendering, okay, you want to first know how the form works and how to build off of that form, okay? And also, I can tell that you used a lot of airbrush, okay? Now, airbrush is not bad. I use airbrush, okay? But when you overuse it, you get this really, really plasticky, dull look, okay? So I recommend, if your software has it, to try using much more harder shadows or like harder transitions, and then blending it with the airbrush. The airbrush is more of like a transitional brush, in my opinion. It's more of a brush used to transition in. So I would select a brush, maybe like I'll go with my watercolor one, okay? A watercolor one. Now watercolor one, it has like this as you can see, it's just one solid color, and when I go on top of it again, it could be like a flat brush too, if you have that. And I have it at a low opacity so I can still see it. But I have it at low opacity so I can go on top and then keep on adding darker and darker lines, okay? Now, what I mean by that is when you're rendering stuff, first thing you want to do is, because you have a very warm-toned character, the best possible solution is for you to use cooler shadows, all right? And also your shadows should be harder like this. So let's just lower that. I'm gonna go to 30 or not, yeah, 30. Okay. And I'm going to make some shadows over here, okay? On this side of the stomach, okay? And then I'm gonna make some shadows on this side of the stomach, okay? Maybe some right here where the belly button is. And I might make another one just like that, okay? And pretty much, as you can see, I'm getting this really blocky, I'm blocking out my shadows, all right? And what basically that means, when you block out your shadows, you're pretty much just putting them down harshly, like getting a harsh shadow, kind of like cell shading. It's similar to cell shading. If you know what cell shading is, then you would know. But it's similar to a cell shading style, where you just put down the color and put down all that stuff very harshly and without any like kind of, you know, necessary things about it, okay? There's something to be on the pants line like that. All right, and boom. Now it looks ugly right now, but that's where we have our smudge tools, okay? Our smudge tools. And we pretty much just blend all of that together, all right, until we get a good transition. Now this is gonna give your artwork not only texture, not only is it gonna give your artwork texture, which is something that we all love to see, okay, and give it a more painterly look. It's going to help with your blending, and also with understanding how you can form things, okay, to your advantage. So right now we have our blocked out shadows, okay, and now we're gonna get our airbrush, and I'm gonna show you how you can use your airbrush, okay. And one thing I also tend to do a lot is I try to mix my warm and cools together. This is a little bit too dark, you know what I'm saying? Mix our warm and cools together and pretty much add more variety to your shadow colors, okay? Just add more colors to it. Add more colors to it. And then you can start adding more detail into your shadows, okay? So for the belly button, you can actually draw out the belly button. Actually, I recommend when you're drawing like, you know, actual indentations or form, you get it like a harder brush, and you can just kind of draw it out like this. And you can always just make it smaller and smaller, make the brush smaller and smaller, and just keep on going over that same part until it gets dark enough, okay? As you can see, it's slowly building up your shadows, maybe throwing some blue. So just switch between those colors, switch between warms and blues, like reds and blues a lot, okay? And eventually you'll get something that looks a lot more natural looking, okay? Now, there's gonna be I usually use the airbrush when I'm doing lighter or like light transitions or light areas of the body. So I'll try to draw it out pretty much. So she has a stomach right there. It's usually like a little happy face right under the belly button, kind of low down to the pants line. All right, kind of right here. Maybe some right there on the stomach. Okay. And then you can use your other airbrush to pretty much transition that, make it look more natural. Okay. Add some more blue. You know, wherever you add a dark area, add a little bit of blue. And it's getting a little bit too dark, so I'm gonna add a little bit more of my skin tone, just like that. Just keep on. It's just all about switching between your brushes. Okay, switching between your brushes, and just slowly getting this area, and also build up the lights as well. Okay, and just slowly getting to an area where you want your artwork to pop out more, okay? Here we go. You can always go back to your harder brush and add some more of that shadow, of that dark shadow, of that harsh shadow. Okay, just so it doesn't fully disappear. All right, and of course you can smudge it, you know, to how you want. You know, I usually just go back and forth and then like do little dabs. It's kind of like it's like a real painting. Like I'm really painting on this tablet, you know. Treat the digital drawing the same way you would treat a regular traditional painting, you know, just less messy and, you know, technology. And then once you get really dark, this is where you can start adding harder shadows. So I have this pen, line art pen. You can either go black or like a dark blue, depending on what you want to do. Go thin, setting, and you can add pretty much a sharp outline. Okay, nothing too crazy. There's a sharp indication of where the belly button is, so it's a little bit more clear to the eye, stands out more. And that's how you know this is the part of the body where no light will hit. It's too dark for the light to hit, okay? Just like that, all right? And you can always just keep on switching back and forth between your colors. And eventually you'll get to a point where you like the rendering. Now I think I can just start erasing all this bull that we don't freaking need. So I got it rendered out, you know, as much as I could for right now. And now I'm going to pretty much be talking about highlights, all right? And like I said, I don't want to like redraw the entire drawing or like redo the entire drawing. That's for you to do. That's your job. So whenever you're doing lighting, okay, you want to always pick a direction, all right? And lighting is one of the most important things when it comes to like doing any type of artwork. I always try to like, you know, I'm gonna do, let's say the light is coming in this direction, okay? So now we know where the light is gonna hit, and if you have to, you can even draw this little orby thing, you know what I'm saying? And that will help you with the light sources, okay? So when you're drawing light, there's a lot of ways to do it, all right? We're gonna use the Lasso Tool here to get like, you know, good light sources and stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to lasso this entire arm. This is gonna all be in light. All this is gonna be in light, okay? And then we're pretty much gonna lasso all of the parts that are gonna be in light. All right, so right here, I'm gonna draw out the shape that's gonna be in light. There's gonna be light over here on this side. Okay, there's going to be a light source hitting right here, maybe even one right here, something small, nothing major. Maybe even a light source right here on the stomach area, on the waist area, just like that. You know, just these are gonna be our hard lights. Okay, hard lights are pretty much all the lights that hit directly. And once you get your hard lights done, okay, I'm gonna show you a cool trick to make it look more, you know, lighty. Okay, so we're on the layer, and whatever program you have, all right, if they have this feature, I suggest using it. So I'm gonna grab my airbrush. Okay, I'm gonna go over to my settings or my blending modes, and we're gonna press on add. Now what add does is pretty much makes intense light. Make the brush medium size, I guess, and now you can just go over your light sources, and wherever you put the stroke, the light is gonna be in there, so you don't gotta worry about going outside the lines. Okay, and this is pretty much where all your lights are going to hit. Okay, get rid of that, and boom. Right now it looks kind of crusty. All right, it's because we didn't do that and anything to it. So now we're gonna go to our blur tool, and we're going to pretty much blur out these lights, okay, and pretty much blend them into the skin. All right, and this is going to give it more three-dimensionality and make your artwork pop. All right, adding light is probably the best thing when it comes to to making artwork, because it just makes your whole entire piece pop. All right, and adding pop to it, it just brings it all together. Okay, it brings everything together. That's why highlighting is probably the most satisfying part of any type of artwork or any type of drawing. It's because you add that light source in order to give it that three-dimensional feel. Okay, now you can even lighten it down just in case it's too bright for you. You can lighten the drawing down if it's too bright for you, or have it as bright as you want to. I like to keep it midway, like maybe at around 50-60 opacity. That's up to you. Let's see, we can also do another layer, put that on add, and we can make the ends of the art, the ends of this part more bright. So we can just do this without adding any lasso. We just intensify that light source, and then it gives it a blending direct mode, like pretty much making the entire piece pop. And you can add the light source anywhere you want, as long as it's all in the same direction. All right, some parts can be brighter than others. All right, there can even be some in that area right here. Adding light into shadow areas is actually a good thing. So don't feel like just because it's a shadow that it won't have any light, because shadows can absorb light too. I know it sounds weird, but it does happen. Okay, some light sources can have shadows in it, and that's okay to do that. You can even do bounce light. Now, bounce light is pretty much when the light is on the opposite side and it bounces off. So there might be light over here, maybe over here, you know, even on this side. Some light, you know, just play around with it. Play around, have fun, do your thing, all right? Do your thing low, all right? Usually, if this was my art piece, I would have all of this on individual layers. Because I'm drawing over, I gotta improvise. So I gotta use the eraser tool way more than I would like. But that's all right. So pretty much, as you can see, just by adding those light sources, it went from dull to much more bright and vibrant. If you want to play around some more, you can change the color of the lights. You can go red, blues, pinks, greens. You can do whatever you want. I like, oh, that yellow looks kind of cool, actually. That yellow looks kind of, that yellow looking kind of cool. We're gonna go with the yellow. You know what I'm saying? So just play around with it. So yeah, I guess the whole, like, to conclude this this critique video, because like I said, I'm trying to keep these critiques digestible without giving you guys too much. I don't want to overdo it, because I know some people, they get kind of overwhelmed whenever I give them way too much critique. So I try to do critiques in parts, and then like maybe next time you can resend in your drawing, and then I can just critique that, all right? Because some critiques can go on for so long, and if you guys like that, I can do that. But like I said, one, it destroys my battery life, and two, I want to make the critiques to where you can still absorb them within a reasonable amount of time, and also apply the method, and you know, not give you guys too much, too much dip on your chip. You know, I'm gonna give you a nice munchable amount. Is also with the clothing. When you're drawing clothes, I suggest not having soft edges. And what I mean by that is, as you can see, this is like, it's soft. It's a soft edge. So I recommend you actually get harder pens and have I recommend you get a pen and make the lines much more hard and sharp. All right, because it gives the clothing much more separation throughout the body, so it doesn't look like that it's absorbed into the skin. All right, because the clothes kind of look like it's sometimes using hard lines is great because it separates and divides things up. Okay, so just make these lines much more harsh. Okay, not as soft as a transition as you did. So maybe use like a hard ink pen or any kind of pen that has a hard edge to it, and it really makes your artwork pop out and make things look like they're separated and not all one thing. The close up here, all right, a little bit too, as you can see, it has a blend. It blends in too much, so give that a nice sharp line, making it look like it's separated from the body, so it doesn't look like it's too, blended in there. Okay, So just make sure you keep that in mind, all right? That's a big tip you want to keep up with, all right? So when it comes to clothing, never blend the clothing in with the skin, okay? Always keep them separated. And once you get those harsh lines, you can always just go in with your smudge tool or your blending tool and then blend it up. You know, make it. You can blend in the clothing, you know, like this. Just don't blend it in with the skin. All right. So make sure those separate. Okay. You can make shadow lines that separate the clothes. Make sure they don't fully connect down. Okay. This is called a direct shadow or a hard shadow. It pretty much means that this is dark and that it's directly making a shadow on your character. Okay, it's like directly on the form, on the figure, without any gradient, without any soft shadows. All right, so one thing you want to keep in mind is soft shadows and hard shadows. Okay, and let's lighten the opacity. As you can see, now it looks like it's actually on the form, making a shadow. If you want to, you can give it like a small blur, like a slight blur, like one stroke. Like don't go overboard with the blurring. Just give it like one soft overlay, and then that's it. All right. And you can do the same thing with the t-shirt over here. You know, give it like a nice shadow separating it if you want to. All right, but since the light is coming down, and actually the shadow is gonna be down here where the stomach is. So this is where the shadow would be. All right, boom, like that. So it'll be probably around there. Okay, and last but not least, we're gonna get our lasso tool again, and we're going to select the light source where we want the light to hit on the clothing. All right, so listen, if you're gonna add light onto the skin, make sure you add light onto the folds too. All right, don't just leave one part with light and one part not. Okay, you want to always keep it consistent. All right, consistency is key. And we're gonna get our airbrush again, and we're going to just softly go over the light areas, get rid of that lasso tool, and then we can just blend all of that in with whatever tool you have to your disposal. Okay, make it look like it's soft. If you have to, lower the opacity down. All right, and then you can even go back in on another layer. Okay, and then you can do brighter shadows or brighter brighter lights. Okay, that make the whole image pop. You can even do on the clothing folds. Okay, and that is pretty much how you want it to be. All right, I usually add some light right on the middle, wherever part sticks out the most. Add some subtle lights right there. Okay, and then we can blend it all in with our smudge tool, our handy dandy smudge tool. Make it look cohesive. Okay, all right, all about the blending, all about understanding where the lights go. And then eventually, you'll get an image that looks something like this. Like I said, this is not perfect. This is just a not quick, but tips here and there you want to keep in mind whenever you're drawing. All right, so if you get the chance to apply these tips, make sure you do so. And if you want another critique, like I said, if you support the Patreon, you get infinite critiques. All right, you don't gotta ever worry about not getting a critique. It might take a while for me to get it out though, because I know critiques do take a while for me to do. Unfortunately, I wish I can get them more out. I get a lot of critique requests. There's a couple that I haven't done yet. So if you haven't gotten your critique yet, don't worry, I'll get to you. But keep on practicing in the meantime. And then once you get the skills and stuff leveled up, you can always just ask me for help, and I'll give you the best tips I can give you. And then This is for the before. This is the after. Like I said, it's all about the rendering. All right. All you gotta do is work on rendering. Okay. The face is a whole nother story. We'll get to the face some other time. All right. One thing I can give you quickly with the hair is if you're doing hair. I like the texture you added with the hair. You know what I'm saying? But I would say that if you want to give the hair more, like make it look more realistic, I guess, you can add some small strands that kind of come out. You know what I'm saying? Because, if it's an afro, it's not going to be perfect, or it's not going to be like that. All right, there's also like this weird, like, I don't know what this is. It's like a weird, blurry haze, I guess. It looks, I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is, actually. But you don't want to have this weird, shadowy blur, all right? Make sure you get rid of that, okay? Do this a little quickly. So just make sure you don't have that. It looks kind of like it's blending into the background. You want to keep everything separated. All right. Always watch what you're doing whenever you're doing art. Okay. And just try to keep all of that stuff in mind. Okay. I also have, if you guys are interested, I have a whole collection of hairbrushes that are actually right here for Ibis Paint. They don't work on cross platforms, so if you don't have Ibis Paint, it probably won't work. But if you guys are interested, you guys can purchase them. Pretty much, I have hair for drawing afro specifically. Pretty much every hair type in the world. So that's what, if you want to check that out, you can. Little shameless plug. You know what I'm saying? But here, okay, just pretty much go crazy with the lines. Like, make the lines as messy and chaotic as possible. All right, that's one trick you want to do whenever you're drawing afros. It looks like she has a big old cotton ball in her head. But yeah, I would say you can add her lips in. If you want to, you should add in her lips. Just so it doesn't look like she's completely covered. We'll cover her whole face up, actually. Let's see how it looks. That looks funny. Oh my god. Adding lights to afros is pretty easy. Okay, just pretty much do the same thing you were doing. Just add lighter strands. It's gonna all be on the same side, just like that, just like so. All right, this is how I do my afros drawings whenever I'm doing digital work. Okay, just like so. Do light shadows or light sources like they're on the same layer. Do the add effect. Okay, do not be afraid to go bright, bruh. Don't be afraid to go bright. Okay, add light pretty much anywhere you need to. All right, and once you get to that point, you should be on your way to having a really good art piece. Okay, and like I said, the only things I really critiqued here was the rendering. Okay, just rendering is something you got to work on. Okay, the anatomy, you actually have pretty good understanding of the anatomy, and like I said, this is the construction that we did before. Okay, so keep that in mind. So work on the rendering. Okay, understand how lights work, how some lights don't work, how these ones do, how these ones don't. Understand how that works, and then your whole entire piece should come to life way more. Like I said, all the critiques I've done so far, everyone who sent in a critique, you guys are all on your way to becoming masters. Like, you guys already have the skill. All you gotta do is refine that skill. Okay, once you refine that skill, you'll be set. All right, you guys have a lot of skill. All right, so yeah, I hope this video helped you out. If you did, leave a like, comment your thoughts. Hope you just enjoyed this critique. And like I said, if anybody is interested in critiques, I do all my critiques on my Patreon. So if you're a Patreon, you get critiques, but I upload the actual critique onto YouTube. So the critiques are free to watch, but if you want your own critique, it's for Patreons only. Okay, so that's how it works. Just so that I don't get overwhelmed. All right, I would do critiques for everybody, but like I said, if I were to do free critiques for everybody, then I would get bombarded and I wouldn't be able to do them all. So that's why critiques are only for Patreons only. So like I said, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you leave a like, comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.